Welcome back. My name is Obed Figueroa, and I am the founder of Diversity Premedical, also the host of this series, Lessons Learned. And I'm so honored today to introduce another practicing physician. Fatima Diaban is an osteopathic physician trained in multiple specialties: emergency medicine, internal medicine, and critical care medicine. She's currently working as a critical care physician at Advocate Aurora in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Dr. Diaban is originally from Senegal, West Africa. She attended the University of South Florida, where she earned 2 degrees. During her undergraduate degree, she majored in biomedical sciences with a minor in public health. She then earned a master's degree in medical microbiology and immunology. She then enrolled in Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in Harlem, New York, where she earned a doctorate in osteopathic medicine in 2013. She then completed a combined residency in emergency medicine and internal medicine at St. John's Hospital in Detroit, affiliated with Michigan State University. She then went on to complete a fellowship in critical care medicine at St. Louis University Mercy Hospital and graduated in 2020. Wow, you've been busy. You've been so busy.
I'm listening to him like, wow, yes, I've been busy.
Yeah, we're definitely going to unpack that because that's a lot of work there, a lot of skill acquired. So again, welcome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So typically what we start with is a round of speed questions. So
Okay.
I'll just go through and just give me your first thought. Gives our audience a sense of who you are beyond the sciences, beyond medicine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So PC or Mac?
I'm gonna say Mac. I just got a Mac.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Okay. What's your favorite season?
Summer.
All right. Vacation spot. Favorite vacation spot?
Beach. Anything that has to do with water. Islands. My home country. Lots of water and beach.
All right. So going to food, your favorite restaurant?
That is Bahama Brazen.
So if you think of food in this way, is there a favorite food or dessert that you feel guilty after you eat it because you go in?
Maybe not a favorite food, not anymore, because I've really changed my diet. So I don't tend to indulge as much, and I don't really feel bad because I just eat what I want to eat these days. But the favorite dessert I do, like a tiramisu. Yeah, once I just can't resist, or like a chocolate lava cake. Yeah, that one I'll eat it and then I'll feel really bad.
What's your favorite TV show if you have one?
Don't really have a favorite one.
Okay. What about movie?
Movie. Wow. There's a couple. I'm gonna say I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
Okay.
But there's one movie that I think I watched over 10 or 11 times. That's Titanic. Like I could sit here 3 hours and just watch it all day if it were to come on TV.
Yeah, that's a good one. Your favorite music?
Favorite music?
If you have more than one, that's fine.
Again, I listen to all kinds. I really do. Yeah, I'm one of those. I just listen to all kinds and I do all kinds of things. So I don't have like
the one that makes you want to jump up off that couch.
Oh goodness, there's a lot of it. There's a lot. There really is a lot. I can't. I'm a big music, dancing. I cannot think of one. Like there's a lot.
All right, that's fair.
You know what? It rhymes with what I did. You see, I did different specialties because I take here, I take there, and I just go with it.
All right, makes sense. Your favorite color?
My favorite color, it's gonna be the same theme.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one favorite color, but I love all earth tone colors. So I have favorite colors. Like I like burnt orange. I like turquoise. I like gold. So like my living room is always like, so you see these colors back here?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them are some of my favorite colors.
Gotcha. Thank you. So when you think about high school, is there a favorite teacher that stood out to you?
My math teacher, in I want to say ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was very funny. Like he found a way to make math super fun, and he was a funny person. So you always feel relaxed when you were in his class, and he'll joke, but then he'll really teach you the math and all that. So I think he was my favorite math teacher, my
Okay.
favorite teacher in high school.
And what's his name?
Monsieur Mang. So I went to school in Senegal in Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
so Monsieur, that's like Mr.,
Uh-huh.
right? So Monsieur Mang, that's his last name.
Awesome. Alrighty. And then when you think about your undergrad, is there anybody that stood out to you in your undergrad?
Organic chemistry. I forgot his name. Oh my God. He was an amazing teacher. He was like in the military, so most people wouldn't like his class, but he was tough, but he was really, really good. I really, really liked it. I liked it so much that I ended up being tutoring organic chemistry afterwards, because I really, really enjoyed his class. And then when I moved on to go to like upper level, my microbiology teacher, Dr. El Radi, I remember him. I loved microbiology. I mean, I ended up doing a master's in it too. So those are my two favorite teachers.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. All right, so that ends those questions. Thanks for sharing. So now I guess let me explain what we'd like to do is, do this chronologically and to help the viewers understand your thinking and experiences at these different stages. And so when you think about, well, let's first start with, when did the idea of going into the sciences, or you're curious about the sciences, when did that begin? What stage?
So for me, it really began at a very early stage. It's kind of like almost that. So it really started when I was, honestly, I think must have been 5 years old, truly. It was the first time I remember. I think at 5, there were certain things you remember, but it was the first time I remember being in a doctor's office. I was at a pediatrician. My dad took me. So most of the time, I remember most kids in the waiting room were crying. But for me, I just loved everything. I loved seeing people wearing, the white coats, and I loved the pediatrician who came and, I forgot what he did, but I just really loved it. And I remember when we came out, and I was like, Dad, where were we? He was like, well, you were at the doctor, you were at the pediatrician. And the thing I said, I will always remember, because I was in the car, we were driving back home, and I was like, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician. So, and then I kept that pediatrician dream for a while, but then obviously now I did something different. But for me, that's where it started.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So your high school experience, I'm curious, at the high school level, so I would imagine, so again, you interested in the sciences, that continued. When you were at the high school, did you experience any challenges at that point? Were you the only interested in becoming a physician?
Well, no, in high school I changed. So in high school, I was no longer interested in, I was still into sciences, but I was no longer interested in being a physician. I actually was interested in being an engineer. And it kind of has to do with the way high school is done back in my home country. They split you, like after middle school, they split everyone in almost like a major, actually. So there is the engineering major, the biology, doctor type, physician type major, and then there's like arts and literature. There's all types of, accounting, and it just goes by your grades. It's nothing that you request, actually. So I was put in the engineering, so I was doing a lot of like hard physics, and I was doing like calculus, like Calc 3 by the time I was in high school. So yeah, my mind went completely more engineering. So I actually did engineering when I came here. My first like 2 semesters, I did engineering, only to realize that, well, as much as it was interesting, it just wasn't my passion. So that's kind of like how it was in high school.
But during high school, how was that experience for you in your country? And I'm glad we can speak to this, because it's outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
Was it really tough for you in high school, or did things come easy?
High school. So high school was tough only because I want to say high school over there is a bit different. For me, it was tough because I was in the you remember how I said they split you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Groups. So I was in like the hardest science, like the hardest group, like a really, really hard math and science. Like literally, I remember when I came here, I kind of found out that people were doing that at like higher level in undergrad, like almost towards graduating, literally, yeah. So it was only tough because of that, because you're put in a group and you're just thinking that this is what you want. Like your teachers know, they put you here. And it was tough because of that. And there was like only very, very few, like, I don't know, it's like four, maybe like 5, 6 girls, we're all stuck together. And then like the rest of it's a bunch of boys. So it was tough because of that. Yeah.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that one. Okay, so at what point, tell me, what stage of your academics were you when you came to the U.S.? Where were you? What grade?
No, when I came, I completely graduated from high school. So I came and I went to college.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
got you. Preparing to go into the undergrad, are you the first to go to undergrad school?
No, I'm not.
Okay, alrighty. Um, were you, did you get mentorship as you prepared to go to undergrad? I mean, what was that experience like?
To go into undergrad, I don't think, my experience is different because
Mhm.
for me, I'm coming from a whole different country and culture and everything is different, right? So my whole life was just that until I came to the United States.
Mhm.
So for me, it wasn't necessarily that I had anything to prepare. Like when you're in high school, college is not it's not an option. It's the only option. So it's not an option. So I kind of learned that when I came here, like, there were different options. Some people take a break, some people go to work, some people find themselves a little bit later. For us, it's just the only option. If you really want to make it, just go to college. So so it wasn't like that. So I think the mentorship was just like, you're just going to go to college. And that's just what it is. But for me, the is when I came here, because I had to learn the language. So English is actually my third language. So I had to learn the language. I had to learn everything. I had to learn math and biology and everything in English, and figure out how to navigate in the, in the country, in the, this, and that was definitely challenging coming in.
Mhm.
But yeah, so preparation, I don't think there was any, because the only option was to go to college.
So when you get here, and we're talking about that, that's a big transition. What was in place at your university to support you for that transition?
To support me, well, at first I did one full semester of just learning English before going into actual real classes. So there was this international student type of, there's an international office back in my university. So it was nice to kind of see people from all over the world, and you all kind of share the same type of experience initially, because you're
Mhm.
learning and you don't really know anyone. I was lucky to have my sister and her family, so I had that nest, I would say, to show me around. But so I would say that international office. So, and they were very, very welcoming and very nice.
That's good. That's good. So what about the coursework? Did you have any challenges within the coursework of your undergrad, and how did you, get the supports you needed to manage the coursework?
So it's interesting. So luckily, I didn't have any issues with sciences. I think
Mhm.
because of my background in high school during those, thank you for all those teachers who made me who put me in those hard sciences, because I really felt like I kind of was at an advantage when it came to sciences, because I became a tutor very early. When I came here, I tutored math, I tutored biochemistry, I tutored organic chemistry, very early on.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I would say in undergrad, I was, my English class, that was not fun. Because I was just put in the same English class as everyone else and expected to write just brilliant papers, which I did just fine. So initially, I remember at first I think I had a time management. I just didn't know, because the teaching style and the system is different. Here you have like so many quizzes and all the time and so much work, and I wasn't used to it like that. So I remember my English teacher at the time, English 101, she put me aside. She was like, you're doing well, but I seem to feel that you have an issue with like time management. Like you're always turning in your papers late and, you know, like what's going on? And I explained to her and she was nice. She actually told me, you know, she sat down with me and she kind of looked through my courses and she was like, okay, how do you study and how do you do your time? I didn't have an issue with time management. I just wasn't used to it. And I think maybe language was making it harder initially.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember she did that for me.
That's really nice. And there's so many, you know, yeah, many can relate to this. Many can relate to this. Okay, so she helped you get some structure in there and identify changes you needed to make.
Yeah.
And then you go on to, you know, apply to your master's program, graduate school. And why would you make that move? Why did you decide?
So for the master's, I felt like, so when I was in undergrad, I was into a lot of stuff of it. I was, you know, obviously as you should, because, you know, there are so many requirements to get into medical school. There's the research and the volunteering and the leadership. And I felt like the year before, I would say the year before my graduation, I kind of felt like I was into so many things I wasn't ready. So like the year before I graduated, like I went on a summer research program in the Dominican Republic. And that was like the summer I was supposed to study for my MCAT. So I really just didn't study for the MCAT. I just kind of, you know, I was like, okay, you know, I think I was like a little bit in over my head because my grades were really good. I was like, oh, I can just go to the Dominican Republic and do work on my research and without studying at all. And then I'll just come back and stick the MCAT. Well, that didn't work out.
Okay.
That did not work out. No, that did not, because I just came back and I think literally a couple of days later I took the MCAT. Well, I did not get the score that I needed. So that really put some sense into me. That, okay, your grades might be really, really good and you're doing everything, but you need to sit down and study for this MCAT. Like I had to kind of cut back on a lot of the activities I was doing. So then it was right before I graduated. So then I was like, okay, well, looks like, because, you know, once you realize that you need more time, well, you need a whole year, right? And I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? I was like, well, I can do more research or I can do this. And then I think I found out that around the same time I found all these master's program with the medical school. And I honestly really love microbiology and immunology. I really loved it. I was like, well, this is really me. I need more time. I need more time to study. And I really enjoy micro and immunology. So I just kind of applied and I got accepted. And then I really, really took some time and studied for the MCAT.
You know, I often wonder when English is not your primary language, you said that you felt really comfortable with the content of the sciences. Was it a matter of you learning the test taking strategies, or what would you find that you needed to adjust to do better?
For what? For the MCAT or for what?
For the MCAT. Yeah.
Yes. So I have to say the MCAT, as much as I didn't find everything else to me, you know, by the grace of God, was not too difficult, like my coursework, but I find standardized testing hard for me. And I really think it has to do with just not being, I feel like English not being my first language, that was one thing. Now it's much better, but I also feel like not being brought up here. And because I find my nieces and nephews, they start taking standardized testing at a very, very young age. And it's different. It's really different. It's a different type of testing. You really, really have to learn you have to study, but you really have to learn the tricks of the test itself. And so I find for me, for instance, I find that actually enrolling in those review courses helps me. So I kind of did that along the way when I went on to take my steps, like, because you have to take the 3 steps exam afterwards, and then your board exam, which I'm supposed to be studying for my boards for the critical care. So yeah.
I've seen this with people that their language isn't, English is not their primary throughout the years. Now I'm curious about you, before we move on to the doctorate, you know, with the undergraduate, you know, double major, master's, double major, like, what was your thinking in going into this? Because I'm sure you made it more harder for yourself, you know, by doing that. But why?
Why? I don't think I necessarily have a why. For me, medical school was the way, right? I had like a plan A, B, C, D of getting into medical school. If it didn't work out this way, I'm gonna go to B, C, D. After D, I didn't have any other option, but I figured if A, B, C, D has to work, right? So I love the sciences, and it naturally sciences come easy to me. So the master's and the undergrad, it was just it's something I really enjoy. Like I just going back undergrad and spending those hours studying with friends or at the, like coffee shop or whatnot, that was fun for me. So it was just, I just enjoyed it, really.
I'm curious what kind of learner you are. What have you identified so far? I mean, now that you're older as well, what type of learner would you say you are?
That's a great question. I'm glad you say now that you're older. And I think I didn't realize it back then, but I'm a visual learner. I learned just by looking at it. I'm not very audio, which that's why I realized that I never really, like for instance, in medical school, there was most of it, I just kind of looked at read the book, to be honest, and then some of the videos available. I never really learned by just listening to somebody else, which I had to learn to really do well when I get into my clinical rotation, because when you're in the hospital, now it's no more reading. You have to really, you have like an attending that's really teaching you right at the bedside. So if what comes naturally to you, I would say that's your gift, I would say. Learn to just really use it, like maximize it, because if you're an audio learner, then put your headphones and listen to things and maximize it, because you can do that relaxing, you can do it laying down, and you can do it wherever. But then you have to realize that depending on where you are, your line of work, if you're into medicine, there are different types of learning that sort of are going to be required to some degree. And if it's not your strength, just find ways to just to adapt to it. That's what I would say.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So now let's move towards you preparing to enter into the doctorate study in osteopathic medicine. I'm just curious what your thinking was at that stage. Were you passionate about both allopathic, osteopathic? I mean, what was your thinking back then?
It's really great. You're taking me down memory lane. So, I think just like many people, a lot of people are not aware that there are two types of medical school in the United States, correct? And I didn't know about this until like a couple weeks before I turned in my application. I did not know. I just knew allopathic, which is what most people know. So it was sometime probably when I was in it. I found out when I met a friend of mine. Well, we used to study together, and I hadn't seen her for a while. And when I met her at the library, she told me she got accepted to medical school. And I'm like, great, where were you accepted? So since it was in Florida, she told me, like there's a Brennan school. And I was like, I'm not familiar with that school. So she told me it was an osteopathic, a DO school. I was like, DO, what is that? So she's like, then she told me about it, and she was like, if you're really interested, and for me, from the first time she started telling me about it, I was really interested just listening to her, the holistic approach and all that, and the hands-on that you also get with it. I was really interested in, and she was like, okay, if you really like it, I'm gonna ask the physician that allowed me to shadow him, if you can shadow him, and you can see for yourself, maybe you might like it too. So then one thing led to another. I went to the physician office, and that was it. He was a family medicine doc.
Gotcha.
And it's really interesting. He was the first person who diagnosed me with scoliosis just with his bare hands. I didn't know. I mean, I think here, kids when they're young, they diagnose them, by when they're in elementary. But for me, I just didn't. I always had back pain, but I didn't realize that it was because of scoliosis. So he just had me bend over. He just kind of, just, there's like a way you palpate the spine, and he kind of literally told me where the curve where it was and which side of my body tend to hurt more and the other. And he kind of explained to me the idea of like the muscles are pulling this way and that way. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. So literally, you know what I did? When I got out of there, I canceled all my applications for allopathic, all of them. Wow. I just put everything into osteopathic, and here I am today.
That's amazing to hear. Wow. So so now you get in. You went to school in Harlem, Toro College. So I'm curious, when you started, into the program, did you feel that you were prepared, and did you have to make adjustments when you got in so that you could be successful?
I feel I was prepared, Obaid. I think, again, I go back to the sciences. I think I did so many sciences that I feel like I was prepared. But to be honest, with medical school, you can never be prepared enough. And I think, no matter how prepared you think you are, it's tough. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of studying. I think I was prepared for most of the sciences because a lot of them, because I also did the master's degree, a lot of them were just a repetition, like the micro, the biochemistry, the immunology, anatomy was tough because that was new. I didn't do, some people do anatomy in undergrad, I did not. So anatomy is a lot of work. But I think by the time I made it to medical school, thank God, I knew how to manage my time. I think by that time I figured out I was a visual learner. So I maximized, I did a lot of drawing. I used to just take a big white paper board and just draw the human anatomy, and just with everything, all the blood vessels and everything, because I'm visual. I'm like, if I can put it in a picture, I don't have to sit here and memorize words. Gotcha. So yeah, I think by the time I figured out how I study, and I really maximized it.
Did you work mostly independently, or were you part of a group for med school?
It was half and half. So I had this really awesome group of girlfriends. Well, it's not girlfriends, there's also some boys in there too. So we all used to kind of like doing things on our own, but then before the exam, we'll meet. And it was great. We'll just really, really, really go through it. Like crash, we'll just kind of really go through all of it. And it was great.
Okay. Then you move forward and you go into the clinical space. How was that for you for the clinical years?
Clinical years was fun because you're finally doing what you always wanted to do, right? I mean, you're figuring it out. You have this short little white coat. You're very proud of yourself, and so clinicals were fun. I was between New Jersey and New York. I did some stuff in New York. I did most of the stuff in Jersey. It was busy. I was the chief medical student at the time, so I was doing my work, but also taking care of scheduling and a bunch of stuff. And did I find it challenging? I don't know. I had fun with it, to be honest. I had a lot of fun. The challenge didn't come later in residency, but the clinical rotations, I would say it was a lot of fun.
And you get to sample different specialties, right?
What happened? Sorry.
To sample the different specialties.
I think that was the fun part because I think my personality is like, I like to try a bunch of everything. I think it was fun that I had the opportunity to just try whatever elective I wanted. That was the fun part, because afterwards it's restricted, because then you go into your specialty.
Okay. So then you graduate from the doctorate program, you go into residency. What was your residency choice?
So it was combined, emergency medicine and internal medicine.
How was that?
Oh, now that was tough. Now that was tough. It was tough. It was tough. The first year, intern year was hard. It was very hard, because I think there's nothing that prepares you for it. And I think that I think even if people tell you, I was like, just have fun in your med school and your clinicals, and just get to intern year. Intern year is hard. Plus, like I kind of, I moved from New York. I really liked New York. I had all my friends in the medical school. So now I'm kind of like moving away.
Mm-hmm.
And combining two programs at the same time, because you have to do 6 months of each.
Mm.
And it's not 6 months and 6 months. It's like 1 month of this, 2 months of the other one. So your brain is going back and forth and it's kind of confused at first. It's like, because the ER is fast, going really fast, right? Internal medicine, you kind of get to, it's more of the analytical, you know, you kind of switch back your brain and all that when you're rounding.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that was hard. That was hard. But then I, somewhere along the way, I think my brain just kind of finally got it, just to kind of move at different pace based on where I am.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
You really challenge yourself. You're like a boxer. Jesus Christ. Wow. I don't just want one punch, I want two.
I
Okay.
want to.
Wow.
That's what it felt like, for sure. It felt like that.
So, okay, so you get through all of this, my gosh. Now you're in practice, and so I'm curious, could you share what does a day in the life look like for you?
A day for me, because now remember I practice critical care. So I did more training after residency, right? I went into fellowship and did ICU. So a day in my regular in practice is I have a very, very, very sick people in the ICU. Many of them are on ventilators. Many of them are, you know, there are some of them that you're trying your very best. Some of them have terminal illnesses that, you know, you are trying to kind of see and talk to their family about ends of life. Because I do two things. There are two things that I do. I do the part where I will fight and try my very best, obviously, along with the medical team, the nurses and the therapists and everyone. We'll try our very best to save your life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And get you back to your loved ones. But then there's also the part where this is the end of life. And I also have to be there for you and for the family and help your family make that transition and make that decision to let you go. Mm-hmm. So I do two ends of it on a regular basis. So my day-to-day is very fun. No matter what, that's my theme. I keep things very, very fun. I go from the heart. I love what I do. So, and I can never know. I think the best part of my job, just kind of seeing who I am as a person, it's really when I wake up every day, I can never tell for sure what I'm going to have. I know about the patients I left there, you know, right. The ongoing ones, but anything can walk through my door. And I like that. I love that it's not predictable. It's chaotic. I love that it's messy. I love that it's a lot of adrenaline. I love that I could just do it all, you know, in a way.
Is this, you know, not a 9 to 5? Is it an 8-hour day, 12-hour day? Does it vary? 12 hours? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you do how many shifts? I do 7 shifts at a time, but then the sweet part of it is I'm off 7 afterwards. Nice. I do what they call 7 on, 7 off. Okay. That's different. We talked previously about, you know, fighting for balance in our lives, you know. How is that for you? You know, tell me about your efforts and, you know, do you put fitness into that, and just tell me. Yes. So yeah, I'm glad you bring it up. I think I found out the hard way. I think going, you know, you talk about, okay, you really like the, you know, boxing and all that stuff. I think there is a time where you're like, yeah, I can do it, right? I can do it. You know, I'm doing this master's, this degree, and then that residency, this specialty. But then there is a point where your body will tell you stop. Like, you think you can do it, but I need a break. I cannot do this anymore. And that happened to me in fellowship just about 2 years ago. It happened to me where I really, really went through a burnout. And it was a physical and a mental burnout. And I was lucky that I talked to my program director to just give me a little bit of time. It was about like a couple weeks where I just went to Florida to my family. And that's when I really learned it the hard way, that yes, I can have the will, but if I don't learn to balance it, then it can come back and be detrimental for my mental and physical health. So
I was already into yoga a little bit here and there, but then I really started committing to yoga practice. I was doing it back then every day, but now I kind of do it about 3 to 4 times a week. Then a little bit before I graduate, I picked up body weight exercise.
Nice.
I do that too as well. I kind of alternate, like depending on the week, I alternate. And then I do also meditation. I do a lot of meditations. At the end of the day, it's almost like for me, my balance is I had to recognize that I work in a very highly stressful environment, which I enjoy. I know I thrive in it, but then I wasn't doing a good job at kind of getting that energy out, just kind of really unwinding really well and making sure I don't go to bed with it. Because
Gotcha.
you can go to bed with all that excitement and everything. So that's what I do. So on a regular basis, when I work, it's either, mixture of meditation, yoga, the body weight exercise, eating healthy. Since moving to Wisconsin, I started being a lot in nature. So, I like to go like close because I live in the Green Bay. It's just the lake and the Lake Michigan and all that. So I enjoy going near water, near nature. Then I started getting into photography, just a little bit, bitsy pieces. I start taking nature pictures. So that all those help me. They do.
If I can ask you, before we close, I'm curious with you. You had this vision of, what you thought, practice would be. So I'm curious now that you're in it. Was it what you thought it would be? What are some of the awesomes and what are some of the challenges? Just being a physician in practice, regardless of where you are, maybe.
Yeah, I think practice is everything I thought it was going to be and more.
Awesome.
And I always, I tell, whenever I see a resident or a medical student in pre-med, I tell them, to me, just this is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
My experience now that I have as a practicing physician and attending, it was worth all the sweat and tears, all the long nights, the overnight, the pulling the all-nighters, all of it. It was worth it. There are challenges as in, now you go from being sheltered as someone who's training to all of a sudden everything is on you. One of the great things about what I do is because everyone who comes to me, for the most part, is very sick, very, very sick. There's not a lot of obstacle that they put against what I need to do for those patients, because there's no in between. These people are sick and they just need the care that they need. That's pretty much what it is. And I think that's what I enjoy about what I do.
I'm curious, if you were to look back at your younger self, what would you say?
So to my younger self, which for me actually have the opportunity, because I used to journal, and I found some of my journaling that I wrote when I was an undergrad, hoping to get into medical school. I would tell her to relax, first of all. I would tell her to relax. I would tell her that it's going to be okay. Things are going to work out the way they're supposed to. I will also tell her to have faith, whether you're someone who believes in God or you don't. Your gut feelings is telling you something. You have either in a voice or intuition or something. You're going hardcore for medical school, as you should. Work very hard, but learn to trust yourself. Learn to trust that you are enough and that everything you bring on the plate is and will be enough. That there is going to be a medical school who's going to look at you at the end of all of it. When you apply, you take your MCAT, and that's going to look at you for who you are, but you are enough. Just keep working very hard, and the rest, you don't really control everything else. I think that's the thing I would love to tell my younger self: relax and enjoy the journey. Enjoy it along the way, because when I'm looking back now, just kind of talking to you, and this is great because everything you asked me, I'm like, yeah, I had fun, I loved it, I enjoyed it. Because for me, I really followed my heart. I did whatever my heart was like, okay, go for it. I went and tried it, and I really had fun with it. And that's really what I remember out of this whole journey. Not the years, not the heartache, not the headache, not the challenges. I just really remember that I just went for what I loved, and I really had fun with it.
Awesome. We appreciate you. So thank you so much for your service. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds so similar coming out of my mouth when we talk about the military, but honestly, you're frontline. You truly are. So I'm glad medicine has you. I really am.
Well,
All
thank
right. So Dr. Diaban, it's a pleasure. And so we're going to conclude, everyone. So see you again next week when I present you another practicing physician.
Thank you for having me, Obed. I really appreciate it.